They're dreaming right now. Holy smoke! Hey, what's going on, YouTube? EXO coming at you here, just hanging out with the big old Behemoth Build. Almost 100,000 watts of amps back here, dude. I'm always cracking a smile. So, with that much bass on 12 18-inch subwoofers, woo, breaking stuff. The only way to really keep up with the music, is to have a nice front stage. We got a plenty of it here with the 6s, the 8s, and the tweeters, but the driver's side is empty and still stock. There's nothing over there. So in this video, we're gonna go through step by step of how I built this using a nice simple but strong curved plywood design. At first, I was gonna use these CNC rings from GP with fleece and fiberglass, just doing the conventional style of bodywork and PODS into the door. But after trying to make my deadline for Slam, I just saved the time because luckily, Nissan's door panel is so flat that I can mimic the outside without doing any Bondo work. Look at how much time I saved. I think it looks great. That means all we gotta do to get started is trace out this stock door panel. We'll lay down a piece of plywood, draw it out with a Sharpie marker, and get a carbon copy cut right out with a jigsaw. Here she is. Let's go trace her out. There we go, a little something like that should get the job done. We'll trim her down to the exacts once we figure out the area with the panel on the door. We can't really put it there yet because there's still a bunch of stuff in the way. We got this plastic moisture liner, a couple of the remaining clips, and of course the glorified stock system with that wonderful whizzer cone. Gotta love that. It's actually got a little something going on there on the side. Maybe that's from me, I don't know. So we're gonna take all this stuff off, get ourselves a better look at her. I think this is part of the collision system. I'm gonna disconnect the battery for about 15 minutes. With most everything removed, you can see right now all the electrical wires are right in the way of everything important, and they're held in with these dang pain-in-the-butt plastic clips. Believe it or not, I'm gonna cut those completely out because some of these wires will be better served inside the panel, while other ones right here, like the heated mirror and all that, will better serve outside. So there's a couple different options to choose from, but we're just keeping it simple. Well, I'm just now realizing things would be a heck of a lot easier if I had the window rolled up now, wouldn't it? Let's plug this sucker back in and get some space freed up. Now that's more like it. Got her freed up. Now I can just stick this inside for right now. The whole point of this is to make this flat as can be so we can stick the plywood against it. Oh, and I'll probably have to do the same thing right here. Tuck that away. We just want all this to be a nice, even plane for test fitting. There's what I'm going for. Keep her flat, everything out of the way. Test fitting here is gonna take a million times. If you know the routine, it's in and out, tracing, getting your seat, referencing all of the important areas like the dashboard and how high the seat actually goes up. And of course your legs, you wanna be comfortable. So right now, it's all about flatness, flatness, flatness. There's several spots where there's some high rises and even some bolts that are sticking out more than they need to. Even if I wanted to replace that component, I don't need that extra stud sticking out 7 miles. So I'm gonna do a little bit of shaving on those crucial areas and maybe even cut out one little spot right here. I did that on the other side, didn't lose any integrity. So right now it's just doing all the small details to get her flat, flat, flat. See, we don't need that. It's basically just a glorified guard if I ever saw one. Didn't take up any meat, and that's a nice cut. Just being a multi-tool with a squared edge, that looks really nice. Nice clean holes for our 1/4-20 bolts, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Now, believe it or not, we just got through one of the most difficult parts of this whole process, which is the positioning of the hardware in relation to the metal door to make sure it's a safe spot. No, when we go to window tracks and electrical wires, this is why we used the other panel for a mock-up. That way we knew it wasn't gonna interfere with anything. So if all goes according to plan, we shouldn't have too much to drill out on the door itself. In a perfect world, we should be able to use these little locator pins, well, just some bolts. I did the 2 top ones slightly bigger, that way we can position the other ones really snug, and I may have to gauge out the holes with a bit, but let's see how we did. There it is, just like that. Now these ones right here will have to be drilled through the metal the rest of the way because it's just not big enough. But right there, I think that's a good start. Let's go ahead and see how she fits. All right, moment of truth, see how we did here on our preliminary panel with the test fit. Now, that would be nice if it was first try, but the other one I had to go back around because I went too big, but let's go nice and slow. Oh, she's clicking. Oh man, that's awesome. Obviously, there's a little bit more to trim here on the sides to really finish her up with that cool little trick I'm gonna show you. But that right there will definitely get us started. We got the profile of the dashboard. That is really the only thing we gotta worry about right here. Now the plywood base is actually just fine. In fact, we're gonna use this area behind as a place to mount the panel itself. It's not until you mount the baffle or the top piece that this shape becomes a problem. We're gonna incorporate it into a little something like this onto that next board. Just something to get it up and out of the way and fit it in nice and neatly like it was meant to be. One little extra note I just wanted to add here because it was so tempting to want to go to this body line, but I realized that the next hump bump just reaches the overall maximum profile of the door panel itself, so I had to go to the next one in, which just brought our line out probably another inch or so. Now that we got this shape transposed, reference from our dashboard, we're good to go on the rest of our holes. Everything will be lined up according to it. We're just gonna make them a little bit bigger with this 1/4-inch bit. darker lines are definitely helping out. You can see the plot that we're going for, a perfect carbon copy of what we got, except for the top tweeters. I forgot to mention, we're gonna wait until we get this nice flat edge with our router and then go off that a perfect, I think it's 5 inches. I forget the exact spacing. That way we can have a nice even spacing across the armrest. So you know what that means. Time to start cutting out the centers for all our speakers. Now I'm just gonna do this by hand with a trusty jigsaw. If you really want some crisp, perfect circles, you probably should use a router and a jig. But I've done so many of these by hand, man, I can get some really good looking circles. Let's see how they come out. Heck yeah, guys, can't go wrong with that. Some decent looking circles, freehanding by eye. I'm telling you, these old school jigsaws are just built different. What a beast compared to the ones built nowadays. It just keeps ticking. I'm never getting rid of that thing. Believe it or not though, everything that you just saw, this whole panel, the cuts and stuff, has to be redone all over again because of the baffle that will sit on top. But check this out, if all goes according to plan here with this next step, I could have just saved myself a mountain of work. It just so happens that I have a spare piece from the passenger side that got a little hacked up and dinged while I was moving it around, and I just reserved it for this pit of despair over there. But I think it could really save us in this situation. Yeah, see, that makes way too much sense not to use this piece as the base. We got some scratches and imperfections, but the other one's pristine. Might as well use this. Hidden by the baffle, no one would ever even have a clue that I used this piece from a recycled one. The only thing different you're seeing now is that I smoothed out this transition just a little bit. The shape on the inside, as you can see, is just slightly different, and I'm gonna follow that inside, but have it be the outside dimension. Since the other side kinda does the same thing, I'm gonna keep it simple and just extend out this smooth little line. Whoops, can't forget about this little hump right here. Sticks out a little too far, so I'm gonna use the wood carving disc to take her down a couple layers on the back. Trace out the tweeters, I just used the GP CNC rings and lined them up across the top with a perfectly even spacing. Did a uniform offset from the top lip, that way everything lines up in a row in reference to that. Not too bad, huh? All in a day's work. This next step is really what's gonna start building it up though. It's gonna look like an enclosure, really. Some door panels coming right up with some curved plywood corners. Now what we're essentially gonna have to do is set the depth on our table saw just deep enough that we leave ourselves about one layer. That way, if we do so many per inch, we can bend it into place around these corners. It's a little bit of a finicky process. We're not gonna try to be too mathematical about it. As long as it makes the curve, that's okay in my book. Let's see how she comes out. Here's where things start looking a little finicky with it liking to wiggle around on you. With a nice stable clench of multiple clamps, it was getting tightened whether it liked it or not. Forward to the next morning, and we've got the start of something great here. I have no idea what shots I did and didn't get last night. I was kind of getting a little bit of a tunnel vision, a little bit sleepy as well. But here we are. We got all this dried up. It's bright and early. Let's go ahead and get the clamps off. Fast forward here to the next morning, and things are looking mighty fine if I do say so myself. The curved cuts, every single one of them is now filled up with PL around the corners, no more gaps and cracks. And I gotta say, this driver's side is definitely coming along better than the passenger side. We got some beautiful straight edges, and I'm gonna eventually hit both the underside and the top side. That's why we did on the opposite side of our Sharpie marker with a flush trim bit on the router. So that's why we're still having a little bit of things like this hanging out on the bottom. Instrument clusters, or should I just say the window and door switches, are already ready to go. Now this next part is not too tricky, but you can see something that's yelling at us and it's telling us what to do. This top corner, you can see how a couple of weeks ago I already cut this piece out for our door handle. This is the recycling bin. I gotta do this same thing on the top. That's gonna be a real precise cut. You can see what I'm talking about here. If you mess up on that cut, it is gonna be right in your face. And since we've gotten so far on this panel, this is a real crucial moment. Fingers crossed, right? Luckily, I do have the cutout from the original door handle. That's all you can really ask for, is just trying to replicate what we already have done. Put the final baffle on, and we're gonna square it up with the top tweeter. That's the same thing I did over there. Not too shabby, did a little bit of light sanding on the edges just to finish her up. Now here's everything on the outside, but we gotta do a little bit of prep for the cabling that goes on the inside. I'm gonna take this here bit and do a little bit of augering here, and it's actually pretty convenient that we have this mark from the previous panel, and I'm gonna go about 4 to 5 inches below it and drill out some holes like this. That way we can run each cable to the lock and the door handle, and it won't have a crazy bend to get there. Whoops, can't forget to cut out this little floor notch on the baffle. Got her marked out with a Sharpie already. Oh, whoops, I totally forgot to do something real quick. There's a divider, I just remembered, between the 8s, whoops, and the 6s. There's a little partition right here that kind of separates them as best as I can. I think I have that piece somewhere. Let's get that glued in.
Good morning, Nerfy.
Say hello to everybody. The star of the show here, just wandering around. So, we are here another morning later. Had to let some drew dry. Had to let some glue dry, and we've got some braces. And if you look closely, it's basically every so often. We have a nice even spacing of bracing, so it's nice distribution across the panel. Now it's time for body work, everybody. Oh gosh, I'm tripping over tools. I gotta get the top panel on there and start doing some body work. It's gonna take a lot of time because there's a couple of them that did outside curves. There's no way to get this bend without cutting it on this side of the wood. So we got that piece. And is that the only piece? I think that's the only piece where we had to do an outside cut. So we'll fill all of that up with Bondo and get every last seam, like right here, sanded flat with some good old Bondo filler. And now that I'm looking at it, I think I forgot to mention what I did here. This is only a spot where I can reach my hand. See how that's like a perfect spot right there? I can access all of this hardware through this opening. So yeah, I just forgot to mention that, but I do think I filmed it. Now for this, to kind of bring it back full circle to the very beginning of all of this today. The blue Sharpie marker. You can see how we didn't even do close to exact cuts. That's because we were preparing for this moment. Now we can do an exact mimic, a carbon copy, if you will, of this top section because everything overhangs just a little bit. So we'll take our router with our flush trim bit and we'll get an exact replica. protected as I can here for the last step of the process. We are about ready to get painting here. We got the Bondo sanded, we got the shapes, we got the contours. I'm loving the overall result so far. So you know me, it's like basically my least favorite thing to do is paint, but I'm getting more and more confidence with the sprayer. We're gonna be running her at like 75 PSI overrated because I don't have a regulator, but that ain't stopped me. See what we can do.
I was just about to open up my second can, but my catalyst spilt all over the place. That's gonna screw up my ratios like crazy. So I can't use any of this. I'm not gonna risk this not hardening properly because quite a bit of it spilled out. You can see it right there as well. So shoot, I guess that's just gonna have to do it. I did one full can. I think that'll be okay though. I'll come at you guys in a couple days when I can touch it.
Here we are, 3 days later, fully dried and looking mint. We didn't need any more coverage on there, man. I'm glad I left it as it is. We got great even coat, and I'm loving the way it looks. We got awesome contours down here with the extra hand sand, nice fine lines into the corner with a slight little curve to give it that extra kick. Another thing I'm proud of is this nice edge, nice and squared. I have some rounded over completely, some relatively curved, and then other nice and crisp. And I think that really makes it pop out since this is the floor and extends all the way up to the top tip where it gets to a point, and that's when I made it a little more crisp to exaggerate that fine line. All the speaker cutouts are looking nice and uniform, so we are almost ready to get this bad boy installed back on the door. We just got the door handle here. We're gonna have to do a couple more things with getting it positioned and screwed into place. I already have a back bracket on there, so we got the job started. It's just gonna be a little bit of prep work at the door itself with sound deadener, a little bit of great stuff in between some of those bars that go across. Just a general button-up job with some deadener. It's a job well done when there's blood drippings on the floor. Man, getting them hand into these crevices and tight spots is always a friggin' bloodshed, but we got her all done. Let me see if my wide angle can handle this door. She's huge. Look at that, all done. 2 layers on the inside and a single layer on the outside. That's what I did over there, and we had great results, and we went in there with every nook and cranny with the wooden second skin roller, as well as the backside of it. I kind of used the stubby to get into all the fine grooves. I only bothered poking through a couple times times for the window track, as well as the mounting points for the 2 that I welded to the door. I can't get my hands back there, so this was the best solution. That means we can officially start running these wires for the speakers in through where the existing wires kind of come out. Let's pull all this back out again. We're gonna rewrap some of this in Tessa, but deep down inside here, that's the opening we're gonna have to weasel everything through. Another example of keeping it simple with the tried and true method of using a zip tie. Running wires through the door jamb, going through that small little booty can be a pain in the butt. But something like this makes it super easy. We'll fish through the whole thing. We might even spray her down with a little bit of silicone grease. Here's the spot that we're gonna use, and not only is it extra tight, but looks like we got a little bit of a 90 to worry about. So let's get her fished through. Working up quite the sweat over here, got all the wires pulled through. Now, I got them separated as well. The ones on the bottom are gonna be for the 4/8, and the top, since it's a separated partition, that's why we divided the door panel basically in half, are the tweeters and the 6s. I got them all zip tied nice and neatly, did some plugging in of the components there, and I also have it routed up extra close to this side of the metal. That way when the window rolls up and down, nothing's gonna hit it on the inside. I gave myself just a little bit of extra slack here on the outside when I pushed that boot in. Gave me about an extra 1.5 inches, and I'm gonna be able to push this nice and neatly with all the existing wires tucked down in the corner. So yeah, we are about ready to get the door panel on there finally. The only thing I wanna do real quickly is erase or try to get some sort of solvent to take off these Sharpie markers. I did that just to show myself where to stop, so it's not so much of an eyesore on the edges. Man, we got some thunder boomers on the way. Might as well talk before it gets too loud. Oh, did you hear that? Nice and bassy. Everything is pre-wired, ferrules on the bottom too, and of course we got the glorified Jeffies on top with the spades. He swears by those in his Chiares, but if they could ever switch over to some push terminals, man, I'd be really happy. But there she is, all pre-wired. I also added some foam on the back side of the wood, that way when it comes in contact with the sound deadener, there's not any slapping from the flex, and I just made it stay put with some zip ties, that way it keeps that foam really snug. I am kicking myself in the butt though, because I totally forgot to remove that stupid red line. I'm gonna try to take a Q-tip eventually with some sort of maybe mineral spirits, just carefully get that off without touching the finish. Ooh, wow, did you hear that? Wow, I wonder if the skies look dark. Oh yeah, holy smoke, she's rolling in hot. Definitely don't want the power to go out, so it's time to get busy here. I'm gonna start with the lower 4 8-inch speakers because I need to tuck this corner one all the way as far as I can go, and the rest will have nice even spacing, and then we'll work our way up. That way we can have a nice even sliver of wood exposed on the top. Well, would you take a look at that? Holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen, we've officially got the driver's side finished, and it is a perfect mirror image of the passenger side, so they're matching up beautifully. I'm so happy with the results. Spacing, fitting, everything went in without a hitch, and I'm just over the moon with it. Sorry, I'm kind of shaky right now. We got the DSP queued up, and it's about that time to hear the results. Finally in stereo. I've been rocking mono ever since I had her debuted, so now it's about time to get both sides fired up. See what we got here to play. Gonna stick with some of the classics here that won't get flagged on YouTube. Good old D to the RJ, man, brings back good memories. We'll do a little walk around. Them tweeters a little hot, man. They're so efficient. They're screaming right now. Holy smokes. But I gotta admit, it has way better balance. I can't believe how much just having an extra pair on the left side to make it stereo has made it come together. I mean, obviously that's a lot of speakers just for mono, but it didn't have that nice all-encompassing feel, but now it really feels full and like it was meant to be. I am loving the sound of that just for right off the gate. The only thing I do wish I could do on the fly with that director is change DSP settings. I can just change sound profiles, which are preset on the PC, so you have to do that all manually. So I think right now I'm gonna change to a different sound profile with lower crossovers. It's my lower volume. I have higher crossovers for higher volume, that way I don't do any damage. All right, this one has a lot more mid-bass. I hope that the strength of that kick is coming through, because not only is it pronounced with that slow tone that comes right after it, I'm telling you, the snap from the 6.5s, it's all pairing so well. I have these playing much lower than these, so they're on separate crossovers. These are going down to like 70. These are crossed over more toward about 100 hertz, and then these are about 2000. you can actually go a little bit lower on those diaphragms, the guy told me. So I may bring them down to 1500 for my sound quality setting. That's kind of what this is. But holy, I am so pleased with that. And obviously right there, you can see that this one's fitting really well too inside the slot. Whoo! Absolute happiness with those results. Dang! Definitely a job well done in my book, and it's only getting better from here, obviously, with more appropriate tuning. And also, I got some plans for doing a little swapperoo with these Nendos, since they're really hard to find, even at the Showtime store. These things went like hotcakes. So they're basically long and gone, so I would like to have something that's readily available, and I'm thinking some incriminator, just like the back, would fit perfectly right here with the black. So that definitely should be a good time. Stay tuned for all that, but until then, we are rocking smooth here with a fully stereo front stage, and that is gonna give me a nice transition to plug everything back in and do the rest of the repairs up here, because it is official. Plane tickets have been bought. So good old 252 Justin will be here. We're gonna tag team all this stuff, make short work out of some of these upgrades. So if you're gonna be in the area around the Sundown show, that's basically the next event that I can make with this. So I would love to see you out there with these brand new, fresh door pods. See, I told you these build videos weren't anywhere near finished. We got tons to look forward to. So until the next video, this is EXO signing out. We're gonna be getting a nice new front stage for Powa. I will talk to you then, man. I am pumped. Can't wait to show you guys what she sounds like. Until the next one, this is EXO signing out.